Hello everyone, this is Stephanie. Welcome to another video. So today we're going to make this bracelet, and this bracelet is made using chatons and half tilas and some 11-0s, some 2mm beads. I've got some bugles in the back, so the back is I think just as pretty as the front. In fact, if you used a chaton here that didn't have a foil backing, I bet you could reverse this. You know, I'm all about reversing if possible. Anyway, I used some of the beads from the Beading School Academy box for this this period, and it's called the Bavarian Princess. And so all the beads I used here are from that particular box. You might have these beads in your stash. You might, want to purchase some beads. So I'll put a link to the Beading School in the description box below the video if you'd like to take a look at the boxes and if you'd like to take a look at their beads. As I said, these are pretty standard beads. Of course, I did an unboxing of the box, and there are like super gorgeous things in there that are just so unusual and so gorgeous. So check those out. I used just sort of the basic beads that came in this particular box, but there's others that are amazing. And also go to their website because their designers are just, I'm just amazed at what they can do. I wish I could bead that well. So they do have some really, really gorgeous tutorials for you on their website. So please don't forget to go to the website and check it out. It really is a lovely website. All right, so I'm going to clear this off, get a materials list going, and we'll get started. Let's get a materials list going. So you need 8mm chatons, a 2mm pearl or druck bead, half tila, 3mm fire polish, 11-0, 15-0, 11-0, and a delica, and a slender bugle, all Miyuki. I've got this really pretty clasp. I used a couple of jump rings, to put on my clasp. I've got a needle case with all different size needles in it. I used an 11 and a 12. I've got some 8-pound Fireline black satin, but you can really use any thread that you're comfortable with. All right, so I'm going to clear this off and we will get started. Let's get started. So thread your needle with about 40 inches of thread, put on a stop bead, and leave about an 8-inch tail. So I've picked up and dropped down to my stop bead a tila, half tila, and 2 11-0s. I did that 4 times. And for those of you who just aren't familiar with the tila beads, they do have a flat side and a little more round side. So you can see that when I hold it up this way. So I would just, the rounded side apparently, is the right side. So just pick them up the same way all the time. To me, with this, I didn't really notice the flat or the round, but just pick them up the same way all the time. And so the round side is, facing on top, and you should be good. Okay, I'm going to sew these into a circle by sewing through that first bead after my stop bead. So this tila. And then I'm going to sew all the way around again to reinforce this. As I've reinforced all the way around, actually went around twice, and then I'm exiting the bottom hole of the tila. I'm just going to sew through the top hole of that same tila. So you'll be exiting right there. Okay, so I'm exiting the top hole of the tila. I'm going to pick up an 11-0, the half tila, and an 11-0. And I'm interchanging tila and half tila because we're only using half tilas here. So if I forget to say half tila, that's what I mean. 11-0, half tila, 11-0. Just going to do that. Whoops. All the way around. So do that all the way around, and then you're going to reinforce that round again. Hey, coming down to my last 11-0 tila, 11-0. I figured I'd put this on with you. Sewing through the top hole of this tila. I'm going on, and I'm going to, as I said earlier, to reinforce this all the way around. So I've come around and reinforced, and now I'm going to give it a little pull. And you can even just place your stone in just for fit and see, and kind of, pull it around the stone a little bit, just so you make that little cup for it. And you want to be exiting the top hole of the interior tila, not this one, but this one right here. Pick up an 11-0, a delica, and an 11-0, I'm exiting here. I'm just going to skip over to that next center interior tila, or half tila. I'm just going to call it a tila. I'm going to just put that on, and that's going to add those beads right there. I'm going to do that again. 11-0, Delica 11-0, exiting the top of this one. I'm going to sew through the top of the next tila. Just give that a pull. Like that. That's what I have. And at this point you can pop your stone in, or you could have left it in and just held it with your fingers. So you're just going to get those around the corners. So you can do that 2 more times. Down to my last 11-0 Delica 11-0, exiting the top of this half tila. I'm going to sew through the top of that final one right there. Just make sure you don't get your other one caught. So just like that. That goes in front, and this is what it looks like so far. So we have these sort of corners put in. So we're just going to, so exiting the half tila here, we're just going to advance our needle through the first 11-0 Delica 11-0 to set us up to put some more beads on. I'm going to pick up 2 15-0s. I'm exiting the 11-0 Delica, so the 11-0 here. I'm just going to pick up my 2 15-0s and sew through that next group of 3 seed beads. So the 11-0, the Delica, the 11-0. So I'm putting 2 15-0s in between each little group that I put on with my tail thread. So like that. Through 2 15-0s through this group. And you're going to pull it a little bit and just do that 2 more times. Last 2 15-0s through the original group there, 11-0 Delica 11-0. Pull that, give that a nice snug pull, and then you're just going to reinforce this all the way around. So I'm finishing up reinforcing all the way around. So I want you to exit the one of the 11-0s before a Delica. So here's your group here. So you'll be exiting, doesn't matter which one, as long as it's before a Delica, like that. And you want to pull that nice and snug. You can even reinforce this too a couple times, as many times as you need to hold the stone. My stone's holding pretty well. So I'm exiting this group of, the end 11-0 right here. This is where I'm going to pick up my little 2mm pearl. You could really put anything here. It's not a pearl actually, it's just a 2 millimeter, probably a truck bead, round bead there. Exiting here, I'm just going to sew through that next group. That's going to reinforce the bezel a little bit more. I'm just going to put a little pearl right there, or a little druck bead. Do that again. I've come through this group. I'm exiting here. I'm just going to pick up my little 2mm, and I'm going to skip the Delica and sew through all the seed beads here. So I'm exiting that 11-0. Like that. And I'm just going to continue doing that all the way around. Okay, last 2mm, exiting here, skipping the Delica. I'm going to sew through the 11-0 with the 2 15-0s on the 11-0. And I placed all 4 of my little 2mm on. Okay, so we've got our 4 little round beads on, and we're exiting the seed beads right here. So I'm exiting this 11-0. So I just want you to, so exiting right here, I just want you to sort of turn around and come through this 11-0 half tila here, 11-0, and then this half tila, the one that's sticking out. So you're just kind of flipping around there. Like that. And I haven't sewn my tail thread in because we're going to be using those beads in the back, and I don't want any knots. So that's why my tail thread's kind of hanging out with me. All right, so I'm exiting the bottom hole of this half tila. I'm just going to sew through the top hole. Okay, so I'm exiting the top hole of one of the 4 like sticking out tilas. I'm going to pick up my 3mm fire polish and the half tila, and watch the way I'm going here. I'm exiting here. I'm coming in this way. See how I'm holding my needle and going in this direction? I'm going to sew through this Tila, so that's that one in the center there. Now be really careful when you go through a bead like this, because they're not forgiving. They can crack very easily, so go down a needle size if you need to, and just make sure when you put your needle in, it's nice and straight. So when I do that, when I go in that direction, it's just going to place, see how it places the bottom of this Tila next to that one, like that. And then I'm going to sew through the bottom hole of the one I just put on, putting my thumb here to hold everything in place, and that's how you want it to go, like that. And then you're going to pick up a 3mm fire polish and sew through the next, the next Half Tilas. So that's going to be my sequence. So we'll do it again. Up my 3mm fire polish and my Half Tila, exiting here, holding my needle, coming through this way, just through this Half Tila. I'm just going to straighten it out a little bit so that they're kind of touching like that. And then I'm going to sew through the bottom hole of the Tila I just put on, holding my finger on it so it doesn't, so that there's no thread showing, and it pulls it nice and snug, like that. Then I'm going to pick up a 3mm fire polish and go through the next one. So this is what you're going to do 2 more times. One more time with you, and this time I won't put my thumb over it when I pull it, just to see if that, makes it easier. So fire polish, Tila, coming through here, like that. And then through this one. There you go. And you put your thumb on it when you do it because, you tighten it that way. But I just wanted you to see the thread path. And then here my fire polish. And then I'm just going to finish up the last one. Go through the bottom hole of the Tila, through the next fire polish. I just want to make sure this is nice and snug. I'm headed over to this fire polish bead. So here, right, just like that. So you want to be exiting a fire polish bead before your Tila. So when you hold it down, these guys should be sticking out. Oops. That's what it looks like. Straighten out here a little bit. Okay, let's go on. Let's move on. So continuing on, I'm going to pick up 211. So I'm exiting a fire polish before this Tila. I'm exiting right here. I'm just going to sew through the top hole of the Tila. So 211s. And then I'm going to pick up 211s and I'm going to sew right through this fire polish, this Tila, and this fire polish. I'm just going to make sure that sits nicely. So kind of pop those into place. If a 15-0 works better for you here, you can always adjust your beads depending on what you're using, so you can, like I said, you can go down to a 15-0 if it fits better there, but with what I'm using, this is perfect. So here, I'm just going to continue this all the way around. Just making sure I pull those into place. And I can feel it tightening up. And those, the Tila beads, see when you pull it, it almost clicks into place, and then these kind of sit nicely on top of each other. So you're just going to do that all the way around. I'm coming down to my last 211-Os. Exiting here, I'm going to sew through my fire polish, the Tila, popping those into place. I'm even pushing them into place with my fingers. Through this fire polish, so we're getting snug now, which is okay. And up through these 211-Os. Like that. And then you just want to get through that top hole of that Tila. Now if you need to go to a size 12 beading needle, do that. Just get through. So mine wanted to go through my needle wanted to go through that 11-0 as well, so I went through, but then I'm going to come back out again. So that I'm just exiting the Tila. I do that a lot, because sometimes the beads, the beads don't flex. So, okay, so you'll be exiting the top hole of one of these Tilas. Exiting the Tila right here, I'm going to pick up that long bugle bead. You could probably just do seed beads here as well. Or you can do a shorter bugle bead, seed bead, bugle bead, whatever fits from here to here. So I'm going to sew through these two 11-ohs. That's why I didn't put any knots here, because I need to use those. So I'm just going to pop that in like that, and then I'm going to pick up another one. Get my needle through it. There we go. Like that. And I'm going to sew through the top hole of the Tila over here. Like that. I'm going to pick up another one. And I'm going to sew through these two 11-ohs. Like that. Got it. Just going to keep doing that all the way around. So I'll do one more. Bugle bead. Top hole of the Tila, and like I said, if it goes through the 11-oh as well, just go through and then back out. Like that. Bugle bead. Through the two 11-ohs, like that. So you're just going to continue doing that all the way around. Just like that. And then your unit will be done. Let's sew a couple of units together. Now, as I was saying earlier, if you want to just do it this way, you can do a very simple connection like that. Just make sure you reinforce it nicely over there, and you could make a bracelet, with the, holding them that way. But I really liked the sort of square, angular look of the Tilas, half Tilas, so I decided to just do sort of a line bracelet. So we have 2 units, let's say. So you want to be exiting the interior seed beads, see right there, those two, the top one. So you've come, if your thread is there already, you've used your tail thread or add a thread, make sure you're coming out here. Going to put on a Tila and come through the 2 on the other side and all the way down out the other 2 on this side. So down this line of beads through another Tila and then up through this whole line of beads here. Like that. Let me move through the last 2. So here, you want to make sure you're holding this nice and tight. You don't want any thread showing here, or you're pulling this a bit. So this is what it's going to look like. Those are going to go inward, and you're exiting this, these 2 seed beads here. So you have those 2 beads on through the top hole of the Tila. And then I'm going to go through the bottom hole of that same Tila. Hold it with your thumb so that you pull it so that there isn't any thread showing. So just like that. Exiting the bottom hole of this Tila, I'm picking up my 2mm and I'm going to sew through that top hole of that interior Tila. Now be careful here. If you can't get it through just the Tila, go on past through the fire polish. That's what I'm doing. Like that. And then I'm just going to back out of the fire polish so that I'm exiting just the Tila. So just like that. And you're going to add another 2mm round bead. And you want to go through this Tila. So you're exiting that one in the center. And you're going to go through the bottom hole of this one. Like that. And all the while you want to make sure you're pulling it nice and snug, and you're just going to repeat on this side what you did on that side. So here, I'm just going to pick up my 2mm. Exiting here, I'm going to make my way through this interior Tila, and I'm just going to go straight through to the fire polish, and then I'll back out because I don't want to crack that Tila. So just like that. It's just a matter of like the path, it's the Tilas are not going to make it easy for you to, just get through the Tila. So just go past them, back out, still exiting this Tila now. Now I'm going to do my last 2mm. So here's my last 2mm. I'm exiting here. I'm going to sew through the top hole of this one. Like that. And then I have my 4 2mm beads right in the center there. Now I'm just going to advance my needle through that first, 2mm, so that next 2mm. And again, you want to make sure everything's nice and tight. And you know, that looks really pretty just the way it is. But we're going to put an 11/0 in between the each one of the 2mm. And let me just grab something else. You can, if you like, you can also, I like the look of it this way, but if you want, you can, instead you can add, you can put a 4mm in between if you like. So here, this is how it would look. You won't put the 11/0s on, and then you would just pop your 4mm in there, but I like it like this. So that's what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna take, here's my piece, I'm exiting the 2mm. I'm gonna pick up an 11/0. And you might just fit a 15/0 here, so check it out and see if it, you know, a 15/0 might have been better, but I did all 11/0s, so I'm just going to continue with them. So 11/0, see what fits best. Pop it in like that, and you're going to do that in between each one of the 2mm beads. Adding on my last 11/0 in between the 2mm, you're going to have to push it in with your finger a little bit. That's why maybe a 15/0 would work better. I don't know, but you can try either one. So just you're exiting, you know, you put on the last 11/0, and you're just going to go all the way around, reinforce, and then you can sew this thread in, and that's what it's going to look like. So get all your units connected, and then we will add the clasp. One more note, I just, you know, I think of these things and I want to share them with you. So as you're, you know, just for any future videos too, when you're sewing and you come to an area that may be tough to get through. So I sewed around. And I did reinforce this. I came through, and then I decided, well, I had a little thread showing here, so I decided to reinforce, go all the way through and come out this Tila so I could pull it in a little bit. And then I went through these two 11/0s and this fire polish. And, you know, I could get my needle in there easily, but if you can't, don't be afraid to just skip that bead and go through that little 2mm and then go through the rest of the beads to reinforce. That's not going to make any difference in how it looks. It's, in fact, it will, you know, even probably secure that bead a little more. And thread doesn't show or anything. So don't be afraid to reinforce in places that you know, you think, gee, should I be going through that bead? Yeah, go through. If you can get through and it doesn't show thread, go ahead. All right, so now finish up your pieces, and then we'll do the clasp. Okay, so what we're going to do for a clasp is we're going to put a little extension on the end, which is going to be a kind of a repeat of what the connection was, and then the clasp. So I put a little jump ring on the end of my toggle ring, because my ring, I want my beads to go this way, and my toggle ring was facing up. And then on my toggle bar, you're either going to put 1 or 3 on. So depending on how the fit is, I think I'm going to need, I might need that number 3. If not, I'll just, I'll test it before I sew it in and you know, fix it. But if you need 3, if you need the length, you know, you can just add rings, but you want to make sure that your last ring that's attached to your bracelet is facing this way so we can put the beads on this way. All right, so go ahead and do that, and then we'll do the clasp. Okay, so I have added a thread. I'm exiting the top 2 11/0s of this whole line. So I've picked up, and I'm going to drop down to those 2 beads, a half Tila, 2 11/0s, my 3mm fire polish, a half Tila, 3mm fire polish, 2 11/0s, and a Tila, half Tila. I'm just going to sew back up through these guys. I've switched to a size 12 beading needle here, just so it's easy for me to get everything through, so you see where we're going. So I'm just going to sew through all the beads. Now I can easily get through that Tila right there, but if you can't, you can always pop through that 2mm and, you know, pop out to the fire polish again. So I'm just going to go around, get my needle in there like that until I get to the Tila. This Tila that's kind of, you know, that I put on. So I'm going to go through the bottom hole, or whatever, this part, the top hole, and then I'm going to go through the bottom hole. So I'm just setting up to put on those little 2mm beads. Okay, so this is what we have so far. Here, I'll pop all those in because you're going to put your 2mm on in a second. We're exiting the bottom hole of the tila. Now we're just going to do what we did before. We're just going to pick up the 2mm and sew through the next tila. Now, again, you know, just be careful with this. You've got a lot of thread in there. However, if you use your size 12 beading needle, you shouldn't have trouble getting through. I just went through the fire polish as well, and then I'm just going to back out like that. And then just put all your 2mm in between each one of those tilas. And then you'll do your 11/0s in between the 2mm. So I have all my 2mm on, and I'm exiting the tila. I'm just going to sew through that 2mm, and I'm going to put on my 11/0s. So just an 11/0 in between each of the 2mm, you know, just like we did when we connected, like that. So I'll just let you go ahead and do that, and then we will add the toggle bar on. Last 11/0 through that 2mm, and you know, you might have to kind of push it into place properly, but this is what it looks like so far. So you have that interior done. Okay, so I'm exiting this 2mm up here. I'm going to sew through the next 11/0, the next 2mm, then I'm going to sew through the next 11/0. I'm just going to go around through the next, I'm just trying to find a way to get across. Next 2mm, you want to come out here. So I'm going to go through here, this 11/0. I'm going to continue around through here. Now I'm going to sew through my tila. So I just went around until I could come out somewhere where I could turn around. You can even sew this in and add your, if you want to add your clasp on, you could even do that separately as well, but I think this is fine. So just like that. And then you want to exit. Let's see, where did I exit? I want to exit I think we're going to exit right there, but I'm going to check to make sure. So just exit right there for the moment, and then we'll put the toggle bar on. So we do want to be exiting right here, and then you're going to pick up a 2mm. You can actually use an 11/0 here if you want, and the 3mm fire polish. Come through the ring. Remember, it's facing this way. Add its 3mm fire polish and the 2mm, and then you just want to come down this guy like that. You want to make sure you pop the jump ring in between the beads like that, and then you're just going to sew around your piece. Come through again, come around, and make a few half hitch knots wherever you can, and then you've got one end on. You're going to do the exact same thing for the other end. All right, so get that done, come back, and we'll finish up. I just wanted to show you my thread path. So I came down, you know, when I put the other beads on here, I came through here. Then I just started going all the way around, and when I came out of this fire polish, I went up through this one instead of going through here, through this, and then around again, and then just do some knots, and that way it'll be nice and strong. We're back and we're done, and I thought maybe a little contrast would be nice. Let's try it on. So here we go. I'm usually terrible about getting toggle clasps on, so if I go off camera for a second just to get it on, actually I'm doing okay. Just want to see size-wise, how did I do? Oh, I did great. So that worked out perfectly. So that little bit of extra at the end sort of made it perfect. And it's not, you know, I like that it tapers so that you don't have, it's not going to hurt your wrist at this point. So here you go. Here's your bracelet. What do you think? I love it. I think it's so, so pretty. So very, very nice. I really had fun making this. I think you'll have fun with all the different techniques and ways of bezeling and, you know, and going through beads that you wouldn't think you'd go through and all that sort of thing. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.